Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast or media featuring Dragnesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar stories and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmilnon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mad Machine, The Shark, and Striker. Today is our 93rd episode, and we're discussing the 2016 Sophia the First episode, Tale of the Noble Knight. So, let's get things started. So, Sophia the First was a Disney Junior series that was surprisingly popular in the mid 2010s, especially amongst Tumblr. If you were there, you know.
No.
Go ahead, Shark.
To be fair, name one thing that didn't become a fandom in Tumblr.
Yep, that is true.
Other than a Zephyr and Rainbow Dash ship. Heyo!
But basically, the show is about Sophia, a young girl who ends up becoming a princess when her mother marries a king, and it's about her basically learning various lessons and the like. The show is mostly notable for two things. Number one, because it was a Disney show, it had an ungodly amount of real voice acting talent in it. And number two, it actually had a lot of crossovers with like other Disney princess characters.
Among other things as well is the fact that it came out around the same time as Gravity Falls, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Steven Universe, and I think you know where this is going because compared to them, this didn't do quite well. It had fan base, but Gravity Falls and My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, this is not.
Yeah, this definitely is around the middling sort of place in terms of children's cartoons and that. This episode is actually from the third season, and it begins with the theme song, which is, to me, just kind of generic and forgettable. Like, if you asked me the tune or the lyrics, I could not do that. But that's not beside the point. The thing about this show that, for me, does not start off right away, and it's with the human designs of the characters. They look like giant porcelain dolls, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, not flattering.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, it's you've seen it before. You've seen it. If you've seen any CG preschool show, you've seen this design before. It's that weird, very limited design, basic. Coco Melon mastered this style of character design. I don't know why they always do this for CG preschool shows. It's the same thing with the Star Wars one we just recently did.
Honestly, though, weird thing is, this reminds me a bit of Little Einsteins as well, which Crucifix is being held up on that, but here, I mean, there are some things about it that I've warmed up to, but I can't say with certainty that they're great to look at, especially when compared to stuff like Bluey and a bunch of other preschool shows.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's so interesting how they all just took this one design template and they decided, you know what, we're going to run with it for it. Anyway, go ahead, Shark, you were saying?
Speaking of the art style, it's kind of funny because if you think about it, this might be what the art direction for Wish was based on.
Oh, God, do not go there. Do not go there.
That's a low blow.
This is a freaking...
That's kind of a low blow.
Yeah, this is an upgrade compared to Wish. I will say that much.
I was going to say Wish is an upgrade compared to this, but mezza. All right. But the episode itself begins with Sophia flying on her winged unicorn Minimus. And Minimus's design is basically the developers saying, Twilight Sparkle, we need a Twilight Sparkle, but make it male. So I guess number one, they should have called this character Dusk Shine, if you remember those memes, you know.
Gosh.
Yep. And number two is his personality is just so weird, you know. It's like he's the comedy relief character, but he's kind of morose in that. And go ahead, Angron.
Yeah. Also, he reminds me of Pegasus from Hercules. If he were mixed with that freaking donkey from the Russian Pinocchio film.
Yeah.
Honestly, it reminds me of Clip Clop, the Wonder Horse from Dave the Barbarian.
Oh
wow.
Oh, no.
Perfect. Wow. If only it was him. If only it was him. Would have improved the show 20-fold. Good.
I have to say, this show, I did notice in the intro that it did make a lot of references to older Disney movies. Like the one thing that I noticed the most was the reference to Robin Hood.
Oh,
Oh?
really?
In the intro, I know it must have been from an episode, but like the moment when Robin literally split an arrow with another arrow.
Mm.
Huh. I did not get that. Wow, that is that's very weird. Anyway, so what happens basically is her amulet starts glowing while she's flying on Minimus. She tells her horse that she has to go to the Royal Library. Minimus, it's revealed, can talk as he asks Sophia if she's getting queasy too before she says that she has to go there. And the library setting is really just, again, more Friendship is Magic comparisons. It really is just like Twilight's Castle from Friendship is Magic, you know?
Friendship-based magic, this is not. Again.
Nowhere near as good as Friendship is Magic. Like, this doesn't even come close. It's not like awful, like excruciatingly bad, but this really didn't do it for me. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Yep.
What happens is a book flies off the shelf and lands in Sophia's hands. It turns out to be the titular Tale of the Noble Knight before it flies into the giant hourglass in the middle of the room. And it's here we get probably one of the better parts of the episode because the show has an art shift to a more traditional style of animation that looks way, way better. Granted, it's just like slideshows. Calling it animation is probably doing it a little too much credit, but the designs of it looks so much better. It's unreal. It's like, well, why didn't you just make the whole show look like this?
Yeah, it's very great to look at. Also, I hear slideshow and I think freaking Microsoft PowerPoint.
Well, that might be a new animating software. We'll have to see about that. But
yes,
yeah. I know Murder Drones uses it.
Nice. But the story tells about the tale of Brazenville, where dragons and humans lived in harmony with each other. And so far, it sounds like our ideal town. But one day, the dragons started setting fires all over for unknown reasons. The king of Yep. But we'll find out more about it in a little bit. But the king of Brazenville basically decrees that whoever could stop the dragons would be named first knight. One of the knights, Sir Oliver, who is the bravest in the land, basically decreed that he could do it. And Sir Robin has an emblem of a fox on it, which must mean that he's probably a huge fan of either Robin Hood or Nick Wilde, which means he's got my approval.
Well, Diane is DreamWorks, so he's probably not allowed to like her.
Boom.
Oh,
missed opportunity.
Or Vixie from the Fox and the Hound. Also, now that I have the floor.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the beauty that is Oliver. Inferior beings must stand down to the exquisite form before you. He puts the first in the Sophia the First series. Without him, the series as we know it would cease to exist, as there is no waifu without Oliver. Get used to that because you're going to be hearing it a lot.
That's great. That's
a Josh Corker on that one. He really made that bit work with another Oliver. But I digress.
That is great. But yeah, what happens is Sir Oliver turns out he needs something called the Ice Fire Shield to ward off the dragon fire. Obviously, he also needs both the Pegasus boots and the hook shot, but we don't see that happen on screen. It turns out that the Ice Fire Shield can only be found by solving a series of riddles. Sir Jackson, a rival knight, traps Sir Oliver in a net, and he vows that he will be the one to get the shield. Sophia wonders what Sir Jackson wants to do with the shield, as the narrator of the story says that only the most noble knight will get the shield, and then warns Sophia that things are not always what they seem. The beginning of something that is definitely going to be telegraphed later on in the show. But we'll get to that in a bit. Angron, you were saying?
But truly such a moral should not apply to the effervescent elegance that is Oliver. Oh, man. Anyways, math.
Telegraph nothing. If you're over the age of 5, you see this coming a mile away.
For the most part, yeah.
Yep. It's just good way of putting it. But what happens is Sophia says that as story keeper, it's her job to finish the story and to give the shield to the most noble knight. we cut to her flying on Minimus, who is wondering why she's doing this. Minimus basically is annoyed that she's flying towards dragons rather than away from it, which, wow, rude. Okay. Yep.
Indeed.
There is a little bit of cute thing in the animation with his annoyed facial expressions, which I feel like, again, if this is 2D, it'd be allowed to pop a lot more than what it's doing now.
Indeed.
Not saying that it's looking terrible, mind you, but it definitely has a little bit of a thing to it.
Yeah,
But
strangely enough, this also kind of reminds me of the 2D Russian animated films like The Princess and the Dragon and, to an extent, The Horse and the Dragon. Or Horse and the King, I don't know.
Oh, good point. But what happens is the horse then panics as they see groups of dragons flying overhead, and we'll discuss all their designs later, so don't worry about that. They do screech like birds at this time, which is something weird, and if you're thinking we're going to get an explanation for it, don't, because we never do. Yeah. Go ahead, Shark.
Maybe they are like Kazooie and they are birds that were transformed into dragons.
Kazooie?
Well, if only she was here, she wouldn't take any of Sir Oliver's stuff. But basically, the two hide behind a rock as the dragons fly overhead. The pair fly off once again as they see Sir Oliver riding on his horse, with Sophia saying that he looks to be a noble knight. And we get, again, this is a show meant for very little children. I get what they were doing here, but the way they have her define the word noble just seems a little bit cloying in a way, you know?
I suppose. But truly, no word can truly describe other than that. Oliver. Also, good evening, Shavun.
But what happens... sorry, go ahead.
I don't know how long I can stay here. I'm at the doctor with my father, so
it's okay. It's okay.
All good.
It's all good. But anyway, what happens is Minimus tries to catch up before falling to the ground right in front of Sir Oliver. Sir Oliver is voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who was a voice acting legend, but weirder still is who voices his horse, because it is none other than Cary Elwes. The guy from The Princess Bride and Saw and basically Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it.
My apologies. I'm not good with names. My apologies.
You're fine.
When they fun fact, when Disney offered him this role, he said, "As you wish."
I was just about to say a joke like that, but you did a better one than I did. You did a better one than I did.
But nowhere as fine as the voice given to Oliver. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's just
Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, every time you say Oliver and the way you say it, I think of Olimar, how he pronounces it.
If only it was Captain Olimar. If only. Then we could have had Pikmin instead of whatever this was, and it would have been 20,000 times better. Even if it was Louis.
Yeah, we might get our wish. We'll see.
Yep, we will. But we do get one good joke here, which is the joke of Sir Oliver's horse giving Minimus's failed landing a 2, and Minimus says, "Oh, out of 5," before the horse says no out of 10. Is legit funny. It's something about the delivery, I think, and the basically the timing of it works out.
Yeah, when they do the delivery right, it actually lands pretty good. I really enjoy the comedy here. Nice one, Shark, giving the JonTron 10. Nice. But yes,
nice.
Truly divine comedy for the steed of Oliver.
Okay. But yeah, what happens is it turns out that Sir Oliver turns out to be a bit more of a braggart than anything else, with basically Kevin Michael Richardson's performance here is actually probably one of the best parts of this entire episode of the show. Because he takes his character and he sells it. Now, granted, we'll talk more about his actual character in a bit, but his performance is top-notch here. Let's see. Shavun, you were saying?
Yeah, Kevin Michael Richardson is one of the great voice actors, along with Frank Welker, Phil Lamar, and Mark Hamill. But as soon as he went on, I was like, let me guess. He's the bad guy who started everything, and Jackson's the good guy trying to fix everything.
Yep, definitely the way.
It was that obvious.
Yeah, unfortunately, but yeah. Matt, you were saying?
It was bugging me the entire episode because I recognized the voice that Kevin Michael Richardson was using for this character, and I couldn't place it. I looked it up a little bit later. It's the exact voice he uses for Darth Laser when he's in Fairly Odd Parents.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
That is
right.
definitely
Yeah.
Well, that definitely would have been. And hey, Disney bought Star Wars already, so maybe they could have had him show up.
Indeed.
Right.
Actually, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, it
Would have
would
been way
have.
better. Shit.
But also, yeah,
sorry.
How it should have ended.
yeah. But also, I hear this voice, and all I can think of are several things: Terrador from Legend of Spyro, Principal Lewis from American Dad, Bubs from Gravity Falls, and just man, here is just amazing. Honestly, such as Oliver.
If only it was Olimar. Chevron, you were saying?
Yeah.
I know I missed it already, but a couple things. First, if MLP was in this universe, Rainbow Dash would be a perfect steed for Sophia. And second, and most of all, doesn't the face of the horse kind of look like a purple version of Mystery from SpongeBob?
Oh
my goodness.
God! Oh, now I can never unsee that. We snaw, everybody. We snaw.
Honestly, looks like that one. Oh man, he just looks like freaking Pegasus Donkey. Not gonna lie, from freaking Fantasia.
Yeah.
A little bit of that.
God.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. But basically, what happens next is that what happens? Sorry, I kind of lost my way here. But yeah, one thing that's interesting though to point out is that the designs of the knights look so much better in the storybook portion than in the actual show. And to be honest with you, this CGI animation, I would go so far as to say Jimmy Neutron looked way better than this show because their stylized cartoonish designs looked way, way better. Maybe this is like technically superior in terms of like not having Jimmy's hair clipped through a locker or something. But in terms of actual design, there's just something a little off-putting about it, you know?
Yeah. I guess it's because it's a cheap. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, 3D are really. It's really easy to mess up 3D and make things uncanny. So, if not careful, like this show was at some points, yeah, you get stuff like that.
Indeed.
Exactly. Sharon?
I will defend the art style a little. For what they had to work with, it doesn't look that bad. The problem for me is that the textures look a little too plastic, and it doesn't really allow for a lot of comedic opportunities, which is something I've always had a problem with CG with anyway.
I can definitely kind of see where you're coming from there. Matt, you were saying?
Kind of going the opposite route. This episode feels like they were wanting to do like a rubber hose kind of thing, and it feels limited because of the CG and how limited they are for the budget and technical aspects of this. This feels like they should have done that 2D style that was in the picture book, but I guess that we want to make sure that you're differentiating between a picture book and the actual show itself. Otherwise, if we did it all in one style, how would people tell?
Exactly. It's like, oh no, we can't put like a sepia filter over the 2D animation or something. No, let's just change it like that. But what happens, meanwhile, in the actual narrative is Sophia tries to tell Sir Oliver about the book, but he merely brags about how he is a legend in his own time and flexes his muscles. Sophia is confused and Minimus is annoyed at this. Sophia tries telling him that she's there to help him, which causes Sir Oliver to just burst out laughing for a few moments. I will say this, the part where like he's laughing hysterically, then he just suddenly stops and says, "Okay, I'm done." That legit got an actual chuckle out of me. That was a good moment.
Yeah.
Chevron, you were saying?
I just want to point it out. It's one incredibly clever detail I like is how his emblem is a fox.
Yep.
Really
also,
good.
Kevin Michael Richardson is truly a knight because he's slaying this role.
Oh yeah, and of course we'll find out more because right unexpectedly we get a musical number which turns out to be a jazz song about how great of a knight he is. He basically dances around and flexes his muscles. And this, honestly, aside from the Dragoness, which we'll get to in a little while, this is probably the best moment of the episode because number one is Richardson is a really good singer. Number two is that the song itself is surprisingly catchy. You know, it is hummable, which I could say more for the more than the theme song. And yeah, number three is that it just again it kind of I feel like if the whole thing with Sir Oliver's character ended here, it would be a little bit more tolerable compared to what it would become. But again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, but the song, well, it is a Disney product, and well, Disney songs are always great, unless it's the Villain Son of Wish. But yeah, Disney usually makes good songs, so even if it's a cartoon, you know you're in for a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens next is that Sophia points out a trap, but Sir Oliver just brushes her off, saying that he would never fall in such a trap. He finishes his song, which talks about how he'll. Sorry.
There are a few others that need to go. Math, especially.
Oh, my apologies. Math, you were saying?
A character that's completely and totally into himself and sings about how great he is. I, Gaston, wonder what Gaston, this character, Gaston, could be based on.
Gaston? Yes.
Yeah.
Blasphemy!
Definitely.
Could never hold a candle to Oliver. And to think such a paltry maiden could help the great Oliver through a trial so trivial.
And
laughable.
If you people are getting sick of hearing him beat the joke into the ground, don't worry. The actual episode does it way worse than that.
Indeed. But the style, the showmanship, everything that is.
Classic.
Yeah?
Yep. So anyway, so basically what happens is the song ends with him singing about how he'll be victorious and get the position of first knight before basically stepping right into the trap and falling into the tower. Sophia flies up there on Minimus before entering the tower and untying the rope Sir Oliver was struggling in. Oliver claims that it's the work of Sir Jackson, who is smugly standing there. And it's here again another moment that is probably the third best moment of the episode, and again, actually got a couple of good laughs and smirks at me, is at the sword fight, which, number one, has pretty decent choreography, and number two, the way that they trade insults with each other really reminds me of Road to El Dorado, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely got that vibe, you know? You fight like my sister. I fought your sister. That's a compliment.
I also think of the Megamind one with the microwave of evil, but the guarantees expire, but the evil guarantees don't expire.
Classic.
Yeah. Good time.
And like I say, yep, there's another cute gag where Sir Jackson says that he learned something in night school, which has a funnier callback when Sir Oliver uses a painting of a woman as a shield and Sir Jackson carves a mustache in it, saying that he learned that in art school. So apparently, aside from being a knight, Sir Jackson must have also dueled against Doodle Bob.
Or Smeargle.
Yeah. If only if he was here. Mia yabba yabba yabba. I'm sorry, what was that? Mia yabba yabba yabba.
Indeed. Also, if he were to have a Pokemon, it would probably be a Smeargle as one of them.
Nice. But yeah, the thing that's interesting here is as the two fight again and it really focuses on them, something actually struck me while watching this, and it's so weird. Sophia, she feels like an afterthought in her own show.
Dang.
You know, it really feels so weird, you know, that she really feels like a third wheel here.
Yeah, she feels like a side character in her own freaking story. Hot dang. Also, haha! No, I'm not gonna get to that just yet.
Anyway, Shark, you were saying?
It wouldn't surprise me if like the episodes were written first and then they say, okay, now let's see where we can add Sophia.
Yeah.
That's actually a good thing to do with it, actually, yeah. So what happens next is basically hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay. What happens next is basically she runs in between the two and she begs them to stop fighting with each other. What happens is Sir Oliver calls a truce, but then instantly puts Sir Jackson in a cell and places basically boxes and other such random objects to ensure he can't escape. Sophia points out that it's a dirty trick, but Oliver justifies his action by saying it was to protect her from that wicked villain. Oh, go ahead. Let's see who's first. Angron, what would you like to say?
The cunning, the wit! Such vile trickery from Jackson shall not be tolerated in the presence of Oliver. Man, this guy really, man, I think it's pretty obvious who the real hero is.
Yeah, shush. But we also have someone else that's the real hero. And Matt, you were saying?
Hey kids, are you getting the subtle messaging yet?
Yep. It's like, yeah, kids, we're gonna hammer it in like 5,000 more times until you get it. But basically, what happens is Sir Oliver begins looking around the room, despite Sir Jackson telling him that he could not find the ice fire shield either. Sir Oliver looks around but just gives up quickly, too busy just flexing his muscles in the mirror to care. So apparently him and Johnny Bravo really would get along well.
Yeah.
911, there's a handsome man in my house. Oh, cancel that. It's only me.
Yeah. American War married a moose.
Classic. Shark?
Yeah, to be fair, Oliver is enemies with the dragons, but Johnny has a charm with a certain scaly lady.
Which we've already covered.
Yep, we have already covered that episode, and definitely check it out if you haven't. So, what happens is Sophia finds a stained glass painting behind a wall while Sir Oliver plucks the miniature shield out of it, wondering how it can protect him while being so small, then claims it looks puny compared to his muscles. Sophia reads the riddle, which claims that they need to find a golden rock. Sir Jackson makes a joke that it's the rock between Sir Oliver's head, which causes the latter to threaten him. Sophia basically looks to the hole where the tiny shield once was, seeing an enormous golden rock. Sir Oliver, of course, cuts in and claims he solved the problem all by himself as he leaves Sir Jackson in his cell, much to Sophia's discomfort.
Kids, I hope you like the joke of a character taking credit from the character who actually solved the riddle, because they're gonna exploit this joke for a while.
A while. It's probably gonna be the only joke for the most part for the rest of this episode. So definitely.
This one's a doozy. But indeed,
Angron?
Such cunning, but indeed, such hidden genius from one such as myself, from Oliver, could only have come from a little girl. Apparently.
Nice. But yeah, basically, Sophia looks uneasy about the whole thing, and she tells Minimus that they'll return to free Sir Jackson after they get the shield. Sir Oliver rides off in one direction, only for Sophia to point out it's the opposite way, and it's here we get probably the best joke of the episode, which is Sir Oliver's horse just stops, tiptoes the other way, and then goes off in the other direction. There's something particularly about the way it was animated, and I think just the way it was so understated that it works out for the best.
Indeed. Also, basically, this reminds me of three freaking things. The first is this one scene from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Assassination Imagination, where the hero goes off in the completely wrong direction, blatantly. The second is the joke from Hercules, where all the Titans are just going in the wrong direction of Olympus, and he's like, "Hey, Olympus that way."
Nice.
Oh man.
Classic. But anyway, what happens next is that Sir Oliver wonders where the rock is, and Sophia points it out before, once again, Oliver takes the credit. And as good as Richardson's performance is, and it is very good, the biggest problem for me is that Sir Oliver is just too much of a one-note character to really do anything, or to be like compelling at all. And granted, I know it's a preschool show, but I feel like even preschool shows should have a little bit more respect for its audience in this, just a little bit,
Indeed.
Matthew, you were saying?
This is kind of the problem when they're so heavily basing this character off of another established Disney character like Gaston. Gaston worked because he had charm and depth. This character doesn't. They're just doing that the into yourself, hoping that brings charm, which Richardson does provide. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But you need more than that.
But fool, don't you know? The hidden genius, the voice, the muscles, the looks, all define Oliver to a T.
Yeah. Nice, nice. So anyway, what happens next is that basically Sir Minimus attempts to lift the rock. I almost said Sir Didymus, but that's from Labyrinth, a much better fantasy thing than this.
Yeah.
Much better. If you learn one thing from today's episode, kids, if you haven't seen it, go watch Labyrinth. Don't watch this, or watch watch that well before this. But Minimus attempts to lift the rock before Sir Oliver pushes him and Sophia aside. Minimus talks about how Sir Oliver is not a nice guy, but Sophia says that he is the noble knight. The two look on another side of the rock and they find the next clue. Oliver, yet again, leaps in and claims he found it himself as Sophia reads it. Basically, the thing with the joke about Oliver claiming that he did everything, the best way to compare it is think of SpongeBob's ripped pants joke. It was hilarious at first, but then he kept doing it, and everybody got sick of it. Unfortunately, Sir Oliver does not pretend to drown here, nor does he sing an awesome rock song about how he was a fool. If he did, that would have been great. But it's very much similar to that. It's like the same joke, and they're just beating it into the ground again and again and again. And again, we don't want to beat a dead horse ourselves, but it gets really tedious. Let's see, Matt, you were saying?
A subtle thing I did notice that I actually did like from the show. Oliver asks what the rock says, and Sophia reads it. I think the implication here is that Oliver is an illiterate idiot.
That's actually a good, if that was intentional, I give him credit for that. I actually do give him credit. That was pretty good of him to put that in. But what happens is that the riddle says that you have to look through a hole to see it, as Sir Oliver just gives up. Sophia puts an indent in the rock to see where the shield is hidden, and it turns out to be in a valley with a cave mouth that is shaped exactly like a shield. And it's here where the episode so far has been hovering around like a 6, 7 out of 10. If it stayed at this quality, it wouldn't be great, but it wouldn't be terrible. Here's where it goes a little off the track. What happens is that Sir Jackson arrives, having escaped his prison somehow. Sir Oliver decides to stop him by opening up a dam, which basically crosses the line from him being an arrogant jerk to an outright villain, which, okay, I definitely was not expecting that from this guy. It's like, oh, he escaped now? Whoop, time to murder him.
Oh, boy.
It really does feel like it. It comes out of nowhere. And again, Sophia is worried about it causing flooding in a nearby village, and Oliver says that there is no village and no one will be worried about it. Sophia is also worried about Jackson drowning, but Oliver brushes her off. Sir Oliver says that a noble knight must do what they have to do to save the day and protect the kingdom from the dragons. And go ahead, Angron, you were saying?
One moment. Alas, he plans to stop Oliver's plans. Speaking of being a dead horse, I think that's pretty much a theme throughout this entire recording and the episode.
Yeah. But anyway, Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, the whole I'm flooding the village because I have to really made me think of Avatar with the jet episode.
Kind of did. Math?
I'm thinking they had to do this because we might be being a little bit too subtle with the conniving, the trickery, the egotism, just the degradation. Let's really drill home to the kids that he's the villain with murder.
Exactly. And it just feels so weird, it really, really does. But what happens next is that Sir Jackson defends the dragons, basically, in a moment that feels very out of place compared to how he acted before this, because basically Sir Oliver went from being like an arrogant jerk to an outright villain. Sir Jackson goes from being kind of a trickster, smug sort of character to a brave and noble hero, and it comes completely out of nowhere. I'm not expecting film level storytelling from a 20-minute preschool show, but a little bit of foreshadowing of that would have been something, or maybe at least to ease into it a little and not just like switch on a dime like that. Let's see, Shark, you were saying?
Oh, well, we revealed the twist. We can stop being subtle in the playlist or doing bait and switches.
Yep. Anyway, let's see. Math, yep.
2010s era Disney doing twist characters poorly. Never heard that before.
Okay.
Big Hero 6.
Fair.
Yeah, Angon.
Now, to be fair, this does kind of tie into the theme of not appearing what they seem, because first impressions aren't really everything, as we've no doubt seen. Because, yeah, Oliver or Oliver turns out to be the be the gallant, noble hero who's a sick son of a bitch at worst and a narcissist at best. And Jackson appears to be the conniving trickster and trapster, but he does that out of a place of kindness and respect, which we'll see in a moment. But yeah, that sort of theme coming back into full circle here, if you know what I mean.
Yep, exactly. And again, basically what happens is Sir Oliver opens up the dam, which causes a flood and washes away Sir Jackson. Sir Oliver prepares to leave, but Sophia wants to stay as Oliver merely shrugs. Oliver's horse speaks again, saying 0 stars are a bad decision, which is also probably what the producers of this episode should have said for casting a celebrity and giving him maybe like 5 lines.
Bruh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And Sophia and Minimus fly in to save Sir Jackson, putting him on top of a hill. Jackson thanks Sophia, then asks for her horse in order to stop Sir Oliver. Sophia won't let him, claiming that she needs him to protect the kingdom from the dragons. And it's here where we get the big twist of the episode. The dragons show up again as Sophia tries to flee, but Sir Jackson tells her that she was wrong. The dragons aren't evil, they were good all along.
Yep.
Yep.
Again, not as they seem.
Yep. Sophia, of course, does not believe him as they try to flee, but the dragons surround them. And it's here we get why we're discussing this episode, because one of the characters, actually the only dragon that has any character, is Willowing. And basically, she arrives and tells Sophia that they weren't trying to hurt her, but help her. And there's some things that are very interesting about Willowing. Number one is that her design is really rotund and bottom heavy. It really reminds me of Ludmilla from Bartok the Magnificent, which is one of our first episodes and will be one we will re-record in the future, so don't worry about that.
Indeed.
Another thing I can't... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, another thing. This very dragon is voiced by none other than Kevin Michael Richardson's wife. Like, seriously, we got Bizarro Ludmilla voiced by the wife of the freaking antagonist, of the person playing the antagonist in this series. Which, all I can think of here is freaking DDD and Escargoon ripping off each other, even though it's just one guy doing it.
Shark, you were saying?
Yes, mentioned it. She looks very similar to Ludmilla in many departments, and there is one shot when there's a close-up to her, and she does like this pose where she's shrugging. Her face and the pose she has there are almost identical to the one Ludmilla has when she's trying to speak in the throne room in the Bartok movie.
Indeed.
Exactly. It just feels so weird in a way, you know? Like it feels like wasn't intentional, because I don't know how well known Bartok was at the time, but I imagine someone on the staff might have seen it. Math, go ahead.
I actually got a bit of a different inspiration myself, considering how wide she is and then just how huggy her character is. I got Dragonite vibes.
Oh, damn.
Oh, that's another thing. And also maybe a little bit...
Similar vibes.
Yeah, huh. I also kind of get a little bit of Reluctant Dragon vibes.
Yes, that too.
Yep. And yeah, and one thing I also like about her is you can actually visibly see her scales in the design, like the ones on her shoulders and that, and on her face. I always like when they do that. That's always a nice touch, you know? And basically, one other thing that's interesting about Willowing, her animation is superior to everyone else's by like tenfold.
Oh, heck yeah. They knew exactly what they were doing with this character.
It's like they put all the effort on her because she moves so much more fluidly compared to, like, say, Sir Jackson or Sophia, who move like they're modeled rigs. She moves like a 2D character. This is, like, insane. I don't know if they had, like, you know, different animation software for her compared to the others or something, or if they decided to put more time in her, but hey, I'm all for it.
It works here handily.
100%. Math, go ahead.
Yeah, especially when the two of them, when they have Willow Wing next to one of the human characters, it is really jarring how different the animation is. It looks like in a bunch of cartoons where you have uh, an animated character holding a doll and they animate the doll slightly differently to show that it's an inanimate object. That's what this looks like in CG.
Huh. It very much does so. Huh. I didn't think about that, but that actually does work. Let's see. But yes, Willowing basically coos over how adorable Sophia is, and she hugs her and scratches under her chin and that. And yeah, like Willowing is just adorable. She is the best part of this episode, and arguably is the only reason to watch it. Even if you're not into dragonesses like we are, it's probably worth watching just to see the animation on her alone, what they do with it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really is great. But yeah, the other dragons have interesting designs, but the weird thing is, unlike Willowing, they're not really characters, and they don't have any lines. They mostly just chirp like birds, which again they did earlier. But it's even weirder here that the executives are like, oh, we only have enough budget to have one dragon talk. Sorry. Thankfully, they picked the best one, but it's still kind of weird.
Yes, the Dragon Queen, or technical Dragon Queen, as it were.
Yep. Sophia basically mentions that the book. Oh, go ahead, Chuck.
The Bizarro Dragon Queen.
That is true. That is true. She's even has the opposite colors of her. That is also true.
Honestly, she, Ezra, and Zubea would get along great for the most part. Also, Reluctant Dragon.
Them too. But what happens is, basically, Sophia mentions that the book says that the dragons were starting fires that would attack the kingdom, but Sir Jackson tells her the truth. They were doing it to protect themselves from Sir Oliver. Sophia wonders why Sir Oliver would attack them, as Jackson tells her that he wants the dragons to appear dangerous so he could swoop in as the hero and save them. And the thing that really gets me with this is such an interesting concept, you know? This really could have been something if it was like, say, a 40-minute special and more time to work with it. But here it just feels somewhat lacking. It feels like the second half of the episode was written by a completely different team from the first half of the episode. You get what I'm saying?
For the most part, I feel it's connected enough that I could follow it more. That's great.
Like there was some miscommunication between the writing teams.
Exactly.
For the most part. I mean, I can kind of see it, but it's nothing too noticeable to me personally.
Oh no, at first glance, it's not very noticeable.
At all, not at all.
Nothing to complain about.
Math?
Go ahead, Matthew, you're saying?
I think the big issue is that this would have actually been relatively well done if they weren't just beating you over the head with it every single time because, oh, well, it's a preschool show, so we gotta be as blatant as possible because, dumb kids.
Exactly, you know, and again, we don't want to do the same thing by beating it in, but they make it hard, you know.
Yeah, I will say this though, compared to something like CoComelon or other dumbass mind-numbing shit like on YouTube or whatnot, I feel this does have a bit of intelligence to it. Nothing too major. It's not Bluey, it's not Dragon Tales, it's certainly not Arthur, but it's noticeable. It's noticeable that it's at least trying to be smart and trying to do what it can to not fall into the same pit trap as other kids shows, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like YouTube Kids or anything. It's not that bad, but yeah, it's definitely kind of in a mixed ground a little bit. But what happens is Willowing says that Sir Jackson is the best knight around and then hugs him in, again, a really adorable moment. And I actually am kind of getting the Dragonite vibes now that I think about it a lot more. And stay tuned because we are going to be talking about Dragonite in the podcast sooner than later. So stay tuned for that. But what happens basically is that Sophia realizes that Sir Jackson is the true noble knight and he is the one who deserves the iced fire shield. Willowing says that Sir Oliver must be stopped for the good of both the dragons and the people. Sir Jackson asks if he could ride on Minimus, but Willowing has a better idea and has Sir Jackson ride on her back. Haha.
Nice. I'm gonna take you for a ride.
The pair fly off with the rest of the dragons as Minimus and Sophia join them. Minimus talks about how he was afraid of dragons, but now is happy to be them before they nearly flipped upside down and Minimus is afraid again. The group fly towards the cave, but it turns out Sir Oliver got the shield first. Sir Oliver taunts Sir Jackson about being able to defeat the beastly dragons. Willowwing actually is the only dragon to show some initiative as she tries to breathe fire at him, but the ice shield powers turn the fire into ice, which makes their dragon flame useless. Go ahead. Let's see, anyone?
At last, Oliver has obtained the true treasure, and okay, at this point, he's a freaking villain. Why am I even doing this anymore? Being a dead joke worse than this show does. Anyways, Dark.
Yeah, also, with the shield, the dragons can no longer use fire because it's useless. Boy, if only they have other methods of fence as the big dragons they are.
Yeah, like if only they had stuff like claws or fangs or large tails or something, but nope, they can't do anything. So what happens though is that basically Sir Jackson, Sir Oliver basically taunts them, but Sir Jackson has an idea and he begins doing the most epic fight ever. He starts throwing snowballs at Sir Oliver.
I'm throwing snowballs at you.
Yeah.
He should have built a fort to prevent attacks from snowballs.
Yeah, if only they were in Fort Squidward, you know.
If only Wombo
General
was there
stupidity
too.
and major nonsense would not have stood a chance.
Indeed.
Yeah, but yeah, basically what happens is Sir Oliver is distracted enough to where Sir Jackson just runs up and steals his sword, then has Sophia flying with Minimus to take the shield, and once again, the dragons did absolutely nothing to save the day. Absolutely nothing.
For the most part. I mean, they did help. I mean, they did try their best in spite of the fire ice shield, but they definitely helped in not making sure he escaped. For the most part.
Yeah. But anyway, what happens next is Sir Oliver cowers in fear as the king arrives. The king mentions that they saw the dragon fire from the castle and asks Sir Jackson what is going on. Sophia arrives and tells the king the truth about Sir Oliver's misdeeds, and because it's a preschooler show, the king is just like, oh, okay, sure. Sir Jackson notes that the dragons are friendly, with Sir Oliver saying that they are wicked. Sir Jackson basically says that Sir Oliver goaded the dragons into attacking so he would look like a hero, and in a boneheaded move, Sir Oliver says that now he will be named First Knight and exposes his plans like that.
Dang.
Which, again, I on one hand, I get what they were trying to do, have the bad guy basically expose himself, not in that way, basically expose his evil plan in a way, and again, I get what they were going for. I don't know if it worked, because it just feels like, oh, we only have a minute left of screen time, we better have him just open his mouth like a dummy. It's in character, but it's not, if you get my drift.
Yeah. Also, the king comes across as, oh, a little girl is claiming one of my most loyal warriors is a traitor? Okay, I believe her.
Yeah. Now, Sir Oliver's now going to have to scrub all the floors in Hyrule. Then we will talk about mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah. If only the dragons could make him dinner. But anyway, yep. But what happens is the king decides to basically strip Sir Oliver of all of his, accolades and has him banished from the kingdom. And Sir Jackson is named the First Knight. All the dragons cheer at this as Sir Jackson vows to only use the shield for good, then thanks Sophia. Go ahead.
Looks like Oliver is blasting off again!
He actually... Oh, that's great. That's great. That's a good one. But what happens really is that basically he literally runs off, and I guess our Zelda CDI references actually made sense because he says, "You haven't seen the last of me." But sadly, we do not find out if he goes into the pit. It burns. Okay, that's enough Zelda CDI references. That's enough Zelda CDI references for today. Sharpoon, you were saying?
Yeah, I'm now just wondering, any Sophia the First fan, if there's any, does he ever return to the show?
Apparently, he actually did. From what I looked up, because I did some research, he actually did show up in an episode called The Dragon Festival. The reason we're not talking about that one is because Willow Wing is not in it, and I don't think there are any Dragonesses in it, or at least ones with predominant enough screen time. But regardless, one thing that is interesting is basically the scene then shifts back to the storybook style as the narrator says that the true noble knight was found, and again, it makes me wonder, why didn't you just use that style to begin with? Anyway, Charvin, you were saying?
I'll be perfectly honest. For a second there, I thought the story was going to go that Sophia was going to turn into a dragoness.
Nah. I think
awesome
that actually happened in an episode, but I'll have to research. If it did, maybe we'll talk about it in the future. But
dude, that would be awesome if that actually exists. That would make the show
would have been interesting.
Definitely
that's for sure.
Worth the existence.
Would have been interesting, that's for sure. But yeah, so basically, Sophia the First would last for one more season, and it still is popular because apparently it got reruns for years and years and years, and apparently it is getting a spin-off that comes out in 2025, and maybe we'll see Willow Wing make a return, and if so, we'll definitely talk about her.
Awesome. Wait, what's the spin-off called?
I do not know what it is called, actually. I don't know if there's that much about it. Oh, Math, go ahead.
I just looked it up. She does transform into a dragon in The Royal Dragon. The other episode was Sir Oliver. He's coming back.
Well, then I guess we're going to talk about that in the future. I did not intend for that, but...
Put that on the list.
Yeah, putting it on the list right now. But basically, I thought that the show itself was just okay. It wasn't like the worst thing we've covered, not by a long shot, but at the same time, it just feels a little bit awkward in a way. It's kind of hard to say. It just feels like aggressively mediocre. Like, to paraphrase a Todd in the Shadows, it was like they scientifically pinpointed the middle of the road with like exact scientific detail and put their show there basically right in the middle of the road. Charvoon, you were saying?
I thought the episode itself was decent. Granted, the only thing I really watched from the show is one song sung by Jess Harnell as the villain. But otherwise, it was passable for what it is. For kids, it's fine.
Exactly. Like if you have like a preschool age kid or that, and you want to show them the show, put it on. It's not going to hurt them or anything. But let's just say there's better things you could show them. There's way worse things you could show them. Way worse.
Caillou.
Yeah, or other things like that. But now we're going to be talking about something else because our question of the week this week is, what is your favorite Disney crossover? Now, the reason we're asking that as our question is because Sophia the First famously crossed over with various Disney princesses. They the three good fairies from A Sleeping Beauty show up. You had basically all the princesses show up, and to their credit, they did get the original voice actresses for the ones that were still alive, so plus for that. But for my answer for what my favorite Disney crossover is, it's no question. It's got to be House of Mouse, to be honest. As much fun as like Kingdom Hearts is, and it is fun, there's not really a crossover element with it. With like, it's basically like a set of characters going into other worlds, which yes is a crossover, but I feel like House of Mouse was basically House of Mouse was a huge love letter to everything Disney did, and basically when they say everything, it means everything. They had the Tron Light Cycle show up in an episode. They had Benny the Cat from Roger Rabbit in an episode. They did an entire episode where, because Disney didn't own him at the time, they had a little XP of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit showed up called Dennis the Duck, who would annoy Donald. He basically was like a version of Oswald the Rabbit because Disney didn't own him. But what worked about House of Mouse, especially when you compare it to other crossovers like Ralph Breaks the Internet, is that House of Mouse is made out of a position of love. And it was like they did like a lot of tongue-in-cheek jokes. I mean, basically, I think the Gaston memes probably started with this show. And like I said, you could really tell that basically the concept was a nightclub full of Disney characters What can we do with it? And they went all out. I mean, they had the episodes like Maleficent and Hades dating. They had like the episodes where basically Pain and Panic try to basically be Pinocchio's conscience and stuff like that. And yeah, it really got funny. When it was funny, it was hilarious. And the thing that's really amazing how good it turned out, it was the show was just meant to be framing devices for the Mickey Mouse Works shorts that they already made that had kind of underperformed, and it was its own show. But it was so good, it actually enhanced it to where it really, really worked. And it definitely is one that I think a lot of people, especially my age, have very fond memories of House of Mouse, especially like the Halloween special and the Christmas special. Why is it not on Disney Plus, you cowards? I'm just going to say that much.
Yeah, same with Buzz Lightyear of Star Command and
that too,
Buzz, you son of a bitch.
So you're saying it's a better tribute to Disney than Wish ever was.
Absolutely, easily. You know, 159%. Yes, yes. Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, when you mentioned that they brought everything Disney to that show, did they also bring Song of the South there?
They did. They did. They are in the crowd. They are in some crowd shots, believe it or not. Believe it or not, Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, and Brer Fox. They don't have any lines. They don't have any things. They are in the background. I kid you not. They are there.
This
is probably
so
like
impressive.
That was probably like the last nanosecond they were able to do it, you know?
Indeed. But that is so cool. Props to House of Mouse, hands down.
Yeah. It's a great show. And if you haven't seen it, definitely see it. So that's gonna be my choice. Anquan, what would your favorite Disney crossover be?
Well, you can't say Disney crossover without two very noteworthy films. One of which is more recent. The other is in the same league as something as like House of Mouse or Song of the South. But choosing between those two was a tricky one because on the one hand, we got Once Upon a Studio, which is basically a love letter to the animation studio that helped spawn so many things. We got Lilo and Stitch, the Ferdinand shorts, The Reluctant Dragon, Ballad of Nessie, Princess and the Frogs, Utopia, so many things. But I don't know, something about it just kind of makes me hesitant to put it on the same pedestal as the other contender, aka The Other Hand, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, yes.
Seriously, like, I know all of you out there are going to say, it's a Touchstone movie. I do not give a shit. This is 100% a Disney WB. This is an animation movie. This is a movie that has... What?
The Nightmare Before Christmas is also a Touchstone movie.
Yeah, indeed.
That's true.
Also Mission to Mars, but I digress. The point, like seriously, this is a film that combined not only 2D, but live action. There are not, in the same scene even, there are not a whole lot of films out there that can actively say they did that. The closest you can get is that one Warner Bros. Short where Porky goes to freaking Hollywood to talk about getting a job. That's it. But maybe a few others that I'm not really thinking of right now. But seriously, it's Roger Rabbit. It has freaking Jessica Rabbit, Roger Rabbit himself, the taxi, the freaking bullets in the gun, Judge Doom. Seriously, how? You know what? Yeah, I'm absolutely doing Roger Rabbit because as much as Once Upon a Studio is a very meaningful send-off for an otherwise not so great year for Disney, Roger Rabbit, hands down, is a loving ode to animation as a whole. Yeah. So I'm basically doing that.
That definitely is and the thing that's amazing about Roger Rabbit is the amount of logistics that went into making it. That what Disney and Warner Brothers basically insisted that their characters get an equal amount of screen time, like completely split down the middle, so like Disney wouldn't have an edge over Warner, and Warner wouldn't have an edge over Disney, and apparently it took a lot of like crazy finagling in that infamously, the reason that Popeye the Sailor isn't in there, despite, him still being goddamn huge in the 1940s, probably bigger than Looney Tunes at that point, if you want to be honest, is that King Features Syndicate would not let Popeye be used.
Or Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, them too. Tom and Jerry weren't in it. And,
damn. I mean, to be fair, Hanna-Barbera wasn't really part of Warner Bros. At that point, so that makes sense.
Well, they were MGM, but still, the fact remains that just the amount that went into making it, and when you hear about the making of it, Bob Hopkins is a trooper. They should have given that man a medal for what he went through, because acting alongside nothing for like 18, 19 hours a day, he nearly went insane. He said he was hallucinating cartoon characters in his house.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's great enough that you got Bambi and the Reluctant Dragon in that film. You did not need to freaking do that to him to make such a great movie, and yet you did, and I love you for it, but... No, yeah, I'm
do that. Forget a medal. Give Bob Hoskins should have been nominated and won the Oscar for this.
Easily.
And a Purple
Heart.
How
he wasn't nominated is insane.
And a Purple Heart. Like, good lordy. But yeah, that's going to be my choice.
That is an amazing choice right there. A fantastic, fantastic choice. Let's see. Math, what would you pick?
So I originally wanted to go with Fillmore. Unfortunately, that's sort of a blink and you miss it cameo appearance of Spinelli from Recess and Kim Possible from Kim Possible. So that doesn't really count. So what I ended up going with was DuckTales, the 2017 show.
Ooh, nice.
It is the episode Let's Get Dangerous, the 1 hour special that was effectively the end of their DuckTales / Darkwing Duck special crossover thing that they were doing with that series.
Dang.
And they have a lot of cameos in that. They effectively treat it like a multiverse style thing.
No, we need Nellie and Antoinette.
If only.
It's everybody there. There's so many shows that they cameo in it. Obviously, Darkwing Duck has a bunch of stuff in it, but they also have Bonkers shows up as a police officer. And this is the one that I really like, and this is the one that made me so happy to see another Blink and You Miss It cameo. The Fluffy Dogs.
Wow. I never thought they'd reference that. Fluffy Dogs, I think, wasn't that an attempt by Disney to make one of their shows, but then it kind of failed?
It was effectively their answer to Pound Puppies. And it had 2 half-hour, like a joined together 2 half-hour special, and that was it. It just had that pilot, and then it died.
Yeah. But yeah, it is kind of a shame what happened there. But basically, I definitely can see where we're coming from, because again, that definitely was a love letter to the Disney afternoon, and they got everybody in there. They almost had Mickey himself show up, but unfortunately, the studio higher up said no. Which, what a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is a great choice right there. Striker, what would your favorite be?
To be honest, I just went with Kingdom Hearts, to be honest.
Yeah,
well, hey, that counts. It counts.
Seriously, this is a Disney and Final Fantasy crossover, sans most of the Final Fantasy characters, but still, it's very fun, and it gave us meme-worthy moments like, did somebody mention the door to darkness?
Yeah, and it also had Goofy. Yeah, it had Goofy say the word Sephiroth. Whatever else it is, it was worth it for that.
Yeah,
they also they made Mickey a legit badass.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, they definitely did a great job with that. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts is one of those things that even the third one, it's not perfect, but you could still tell where they had a lot of fun with it. With like the Monsters Inc. and Toy Story and that. And I love how basically Woody gets one of the most badass moments.
Yeah. And also, this was the same. Like seriously, they also got James Woods for this, like consistently. Like,
Oh
this
yeah, right.
guy-
Well, yeah, because
Oh, yes. Also, Oren freaking roasting Sephiroth. No, not Sephiroth.
yeah,
Hades.
that too.
Hades. Oh man, that
Yep,
was funny.
yep.
I
Well-
just remember really enjoying Kingdom Hearts 2 being my favorite game in the series, to be honest.
I think
A
it's
lot-
most people's favorites too. And
A
yeah,
lot of I've noticed a lot of people online really hate this one, and I'm just like,
really.
why?
Wait, which
I love
one?
this one.
Which
Kingdom
one?
Hearts 2. I love this one. This is my favorite game in the series.
Not a bad game. It goes out of his way to freaking say it's a great one.
I loved it. It was my favorite.
Yeah, it's a brain fart. Why?
Yeah, that definitely is a weird one there.
Yeah,
But-
that's weird. Anyways,
Yep. So let's see. Shark, what would your favorite be?
Well, Sora is a Disney character, and he's in the Smash. No, no, it's not that one.
uh,
Yeah, I thought very hard, and of the many shows or even games, and I thought at the end I remember one show that had a lot of crossover with other Disney properties. There was a Lilo and Stitch cartoon special where characters from other shows made a crossover with them, and of the whole bunch, my favorite was the one when the Recess Gang went to Hawaii.
That was so weird when you really think about it.
It was
That-
out of left field, but I
Yeah,
enjoyed
because-
it though.
Oh, I do too. I do
Exactly,
too.
exactly.
But like I say, the other crossovers make sense. Well, not all of them, but like Jake Long and Kim Possible makes sense because those are more action-oriented shows. It would make sense. But now that means in the world of both the Proud Family and Recess, aliens exist. That is something that cannot be undone. We now have canon proof that it takes place in the same universe. So while
To be
TJ and
fair, there's an episode of Recess which starts with Beans telling the story of a kid getting kidnapped by aliens, and that episode ends with the aliens returning the kid to the school. So yeah,
indeed.
well, it's mostly because Recess was easily one of my favorite Disney cartoons, and I don't know, see them outside of the school in Hawaii fighting aliens. It was kind of exciting for me when I saw it first.
I can see why, because Recess definitely. I was a big fan of Recess too, and yeah, I definitely can see where you're coming from there because it definitely was a unique crossover. Let's say.
Indeed.
So let's see, Sharvoon, what would your favorite be?
If I had Who Framed Roger Rabbit, it's one of my favorite movies, and on top of that, it's also a greatly directed and great written movie too. But a second one that I want to focus more on is, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge crossover guy unless it's something that I really, 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 really like. Which is why for this one, I'm going to talk more about the panel crossover between the cast and creators of Amphibia with the cast and creators of the Owl House. Like, to me, I'm a huge fan of both shows, Gravity Falls more than Amphibia, but even the fans have always been quick to compare those two, as those two during this time were like the biggest shows of Disney. And of course, those two shared huge similarity. They had similar premises, almost similar art style, and a similar emphasis on anime and darker stuff. But they also had their clear differences. But the fans kept on basically crossing these two shows over, and this was a panel that came true. My favorite part is just Luz and Ant's interaction. Even though it's just a panel where there's no information, you can just imagine these characters interacting with each other and being. It's just everything I would have expected with a crossover with, though. It's just
Hmm.
it's just what I love. But once again, my favorite movie of all time, one of my favorite movies at least, I think it's in the lower quartile of the 40s, is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I've seen a lot of movies, so that's actually a high praise. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of my favorite movies. It's a great crossover and everything. Dustin Hoffman, you are great in Rain Man, but honestly, Bob Hoskins should have won the Oscar for Best Actor for the ass amount of work he had to do. But my pick for this one would be the Amphibia Owl House crossover for giving fans something that they want.
I can definitely see that. Yep, that's definitely a good one right there. So now it is time for the patent pending Dragness scale, where we rank the Dragness from 1 to 10. Today we're going to be talking about Willow Wing, and I'll go first. This one is going to be really interesting because, number one, in terms of designs, she's basically an XB of Ludmilla, and famously, Ludmilla got one of the higher scores in the Dragness scale.
Yep.
Now, with that being said, Willow Wing is not as good as Ludmilla, but hey, who is? I am going to give her probably a 7 out of 10 because, okay, number one, I'm basically giving that for the Dragonesses as a whole, basically, as the dragon's kind of a shared collective thing. Number two is her design is, again, just like Ludmilla's, and Ludmilla got a good score, so by proxy, she does too. And the voice and the characterization is so good with her that she feels more like a character than Sophia herself. That the main character of the show feels more like a blank slate compared to this dragon that appears for only basically the last 5 minutes of the runtime. And the animation quality also helps because, let's face it, when you have your character animated way better than the other ones, she's getting a high score. So for all those reasons, I'm probably going to give her a 7 out of 10. I can't really give her a higher score because she's not in it all that much. If she showed up in like the first 5 minutes and we're in for the rest of the episode, would probably get like a higher score. But for now, she's getting a 7 out of 10, which still is really, really good. And again, it shows that she is the best part of this episode by far and the most enjoyable thing that was not Kevin Michael Richardson singing. Angron?
Yeah, I'm also going to agree. 7 out of 10. It's honestly kind of interesting seeing a character like her be in a show like this. Also, it's rare that we ever get to hear Kevin Michael Richardson's wife play a character in a production with Kevin Michael Richardson. It's pretty bizarre. Like, seriously, this character is amazing, and like the juxtaposition she has with Oliver, last time I'm going to do this, I swear. It's honestly pretty hilarious. Again, it reminds me of DDD and Escargoon riffing off each other. They sound like such different people, but it's like one person. But here it's like two different people, and yet they probably are so comfortable with each other. They're like so they have so much respect and love for each other that doing this sort of stuff like this, having him be the villain and her the hero in a sense, it's pretty amazing, and it's honestly heartful. So I can't really give her an 8 out of 10 because, I mean, come on, the show kind of holds her back on that front. But yeah, I'm definitely going to give her a 7 out of 10. She definitely deserves that much.
Nice. Let's see, Matt, what would you give her?
Yeah, this one took a while for me to figure out too, because it's such a weird juxtaposition of I really like the design, but they didn't do anything with the character. This is probably one of the worst examples I've seen of that, and I actually landed at a 7 with you guys as well. I love this design. I cannot overemphasize that. It looks so good compared to how bad everything else looks. And her character is just so sweet and cute, and as soon as she just started being all huggy and sweet with everybody, just the Dragonite vibes instantly kicked in, and that really helped. My issue, and this is the big problem I had with why I say this is the weirdest character to design juxtaposition I've ever had, they give her all of like 10 lines and 3 minutes of screen time. Like, why do you put so much effort into this character and then do absolutely nothing with her?
It's a shame. It really is.
Nothing.
But yeah, it really is kind of a shame when you think about it, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I definitely see where you're coming from. And hey, that's 3 7 out of 10s in a row. Let's see if we can keep the train going. Striker?
Yep.
Keeping it going. 7 out of 10.
Nice,
bitches.
I agree with Matt on this because I adore her design too, and my God, where there's so many shows with so many with good characters like this, and they just don't do anything with them.
Nice. So, yep. Wow, I'm just kind of surprised there. Let's see if we can keep the train going. Shark?
Yeah, it's still going because 7 out of 10 from me as well.
Wow.
And yeah, and the same boat as Striker. Everyone said everything I thought about her. Great design, she needed more screen time, great personality. I really can't add anything new to what has been said. So 7 out of 10.
All good. So let's see here. Sharvoon, what would you give her?
6.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I put a lot of emphasis on plot importance, and unfortunately, she didn't really do much. Maybe if she was like a supposed oncoming threat, like maybe earlier when they were traveling to the big golden rock, which, by the way, how did they miss that? But anyways, they could have been like, oh my God, the dragons are here, and they try to hide. They fly by. A little more build up. Something like that, honestly. Also, I'm not a huge fan of her design. It's expressive. I like how expressive she is, but it's a kind of mad design, especially when it's sort of Ludmilla without the color and without a lot of the intimidating horns. But aside from that, like you said, her voice was great and her personality was great. If they did more with her, like you said, then I would have given her a higher rating. Like maybe we could have gotten a full 7 out of 10 rating here. But once again, I'm kind of the picky, plot relevant kind of guy, so she gets a 6.
Fair enough.
All right, I understand.
I'm sorry to crash the train here. And
no,
really
don't
apologize.
Don't
It's
apologize
opinion.
for. Yep. Don't apologize for having your own thing and that. You know, it's all good. It's all good. So,
it's not really crashed
Completely
anyway.
fine.
It's more like it bumps into this one freaking thing, like from Spirit Tracks.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
All good. It's all good. So, if you have any questions or if you want to send us more of your thoughts about Willow Wing's great design, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Visit us on Blue Sky at Blue Sky at Fiery Discourse at Blue Sky. Be sure to subscribe to the Ludmilla YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. And any and all comments are appreciated. Also, one of our co-hosts, Lucky Evie, is looking to have a fundraiser to get him into a group home. That will also be in the description.
Donate.
Please
check him out on check it out on Blue Sky, and also go to his GoFundMe and support him. He needs this.
Yep. But anyway, next week we are going to be talking about something completely different than usual because we are going to be discussing our first video game, and it is going to be on a classic. Next week, we are going to be talking about the 2001 Nintendo video game Wario Land 4. It's Wario Land 4, one of my greatest achievements.
Unfortunately, I can't. Unfortunately, I can't really do that one because I don't really play video games. But maybe later on, maybe we'll get more episodes. Like maybe that new Sophia episode where Sophia becomes a dragon. Maybe that will. Oh, sweet Jesus, God! What the hell is that?
Nice.
At the very least, there's still Dulcie from Sonic.
I hate that.
Nice. So basically, that'll be it for today. And until then, for next week, thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.
Have a rotten day.
Yep, I was gonna say that.
Bye. That podcast stinks. I'm leaving.
Shazim, you get my Wario steam.
I'm gonna win.
Yep. Yep. Next week there'll be a lot more Wario impressions. Hopefully not all of them terrible. But until then, thank you guys so much and take care.